Hello everyone and welcome to my webinar on Nazi women and the policies toward Nazi women. So you've got the title there, so you might want to pause the video and jot down the title. In what ways were women affected by Nazi policies? Please pause and write that down. Okay, now that you've got the title, can you have a look at the image on the side? Source A, a portrait of an ideal German family. I'd like you to jot down what you can see, what you think it's trying to tell you about what the Nazis' policies towards women are. So just pause the video, spend about 4 minutes doing that. Okay, so now that you've done that, hopefully you can see that we've got a family. We've got a mother that's clearly breastfeeding a child, very natural. We've got natural dress as well, the hair, hopefully you notice the bun style. You've got all different, all different styles here, but you've got similar hair going on. You've got similar the braids going around the bun. You've got very natural setting. You've got the man kind of looking over at the child. Again, a very sort of beautiful family connection. Then you can see at the floor, you've got the young boy who's clearly playing with dirt. He's kind of building something maybe. So for working with his hands. And again, if you look right into the background, you can see a very natural scene with even the bare brick showing. So again, a very natural scene. You've got the young girl looking at the baby and the even younger child holding a doll. The idea of motherhood, looking into the future about what she could possibly do. So hopefully from that, you can see exactly what the ideal would be for Nazi policies towards women at the time. So what we're going to be doing is looking at the attitudes, the impact, and generally how successful they were or how successful they thought they were with these policies. And this source is a great way of getting into the nitty-gritty ideas of exactly what they wanted. So let's have a look at what was the situation before the Nazis came in for women. So in terms of what the situation was like, it was, just skip a second, it was pretty good for women. They could enjoy any profession they really wanted to. It was very freeing. They had shorter skirts they could wear, sort of flapper lifestyle. If you've ever studied America, it kind of came over to Germany. Very active nightlife, smoking, drinking, going out on dates. They could do what they wanted, really. Divorces were quite high. They were having children a lot later because of their careers. So what you might want to start doing is jotting some of these ideas down in terms of how freeing life was before the Nazis came in, because that way you can see the contrast to actually what happens with the Nazis. So you just pause the video for a moment and jot down some of those ideas about what it was like. Some of it's on the board as well. Okay, so as you can see, it was a golden age for women. Freedom, the right to vote, the right to work, equal pay was coming in. They could attend universities, as I've said before, be lawyers and doctors. But with divorce rates going up, abortion rates going up, again, make sure you jot that down, abortion rates were going up. People were really worrying about the falling birth rate. Roughly, there was about 970,000 births before 1933, before Hitler came in on the 30th of January 1933. And that was a real concern for the Nazis. Because if they're going to have a war, they're going to need those children. They're going to need the future Nazis to be around. And if women are choosing careers over motherhood, that's not good for them. So that's something that the Nazis are going to definitely want to change when they come in, especially this freedom that women seem to have, these jobs they're taking on. This golden age of women is clearly going to be flipped on its head. It's going to be complete reverse. So make sure you've jotted down exactly what life was like for women at the time. Because what Hitler's going to do is Hitler is going to say this: the world of women is a smaller one. For her world is her husband, her family, her children, and her house. So you might want to start a spider's diagram now about what Nazi policies are. So that is certainly a really easy quote to jot down, pretty simple one to remember. So I'll give you a moment to do that. Please pause the video. Okay, so what you can see here is some pretty famous images. Again, you've got a poster here in the bottom corner of a woman with a child, where in the background, you can see men working the field, you can see men as soldiers, army, that kind of thing. So again, there's a huge divide between what women are meant to be doing. It's a very clear-cut idea, motherhood, whereas you've got the men doing the work. And they're not really considering what women are doing is work. Top corner, you've got the fancy wedding. She's married an SS soldier, you can see by the uniform. She's married in the right church. You can see them with their hands up as well, that old Roman symbol that the Germans have copied. You've got a woman that kind of broke the mold a little bit. Irma Grease in the top corner. She had a couple of very famous boyfriends. She worked in a concentration camp and she was 19 years of age at that point in time. And she was executed for what she did in concentration camps. But she broke the mold in terms of Hitler and the Nazis wanting women not to work. But she did. She did work. So again, that kind of Hitler's ideas and what Hitler actually wanted in terms of his policies, they're not totally black and white. Okay. And in the bottom corner, you've got something I'm going to go into in a minute, but you've got a flag which says SS, you've got a building, and you've got what looks like possibly babies in prams. We'll keep that for a moment. So, as you can see, period beforehand was all very freeing, and then the Nazis come in 30th of January 1933, and some women actually welcome these new policies, and some women are totally against them. So it's not, again, black and white in saying that everyone loved it. It's a mixed bag here. So these are the policies that the Nazis had towards women. So you might want to pause the video to jot them down, and we'll be going through them in a minute. Okay, so you probably see by the images that I've got on the corners, you've got the eagle, the Nazi symbol. The eagle is coming around the family, protecting the family, because for the Nazis, it was very much family first, and the woman's role was the central point, the most important part in the family for expanding the family, having as many children as possible so that Hitler could have his little army. Ideally having boys, but obviously girls are great because they could produce more and more children. You've then obviously got in the other corner, you've got a lady with her children. You can see her son there in the Hitler Youth uniform. The girls wearing traditional dress and blonde hair, that Aryan idea, and very much an idolised, typical look. They're idolising the mother, she's idolising them. It's that love bond of motherhood. You've also got another image of a woman breastfeeding. Again, going back to the idea of nature. Natural hairstyles, no drinking, no smoking, no dieting, no trousers, no high heels, keeping fit and healthy, everything for motherhood, even going back to school. So when girls are in school, in or out of school, any clubs they went to, it's all about being a beautiful wife, mother, it's all about motherhood. And you can see in the bottom corner an image of Hitler that every household would have had in their house. It was, you'd get in a lot of trouble if you didn't have an image of Hitler above your mantelpiece. Yeah, if you were taking it down to dust, you'd have to make sure it goes straight back up. And you would adorn it with flowers and show your respect and your love for the image of Hitler, because he's seen as a sex symbol. He's seen as someone that women should look up to and want to marry and want to be with. That's why Hitler hid his relationships, because he wanted to make sure that women looked up to him and loved him, and he was seen as someone that they could be with. So as you can see here, they're banned from jury service, they're banned from, again, being lawyers and doctors and all those jobs that a lot of them possibly enjoyed doing during the Weimar period. That's kind of gone. They're not allowed to get an abortion anymore. He wants to make sure that if you wanted to divorce because your husband couldn't have children, that's easier. And to be honest, with Hitler and the Nazis, they're not really that interested in marriage. It's about the child. So extramarital affairs, things like that, it's fine. It's the children that really matter. But the key learning for you is the 3 Ks. Kinder, Kirch, Kuch. Children, church, cooking. All summarises there. So make sure in any essay you do, you really get those 3 Ks down. You can learn it in the German, want to show off, and you can learn it in English. It doesn't really matter, the 3 Ks, the 3 Cs in English, that's fine. But make sure you definitely jot it down, the idea of how the women are controlled in terms of what they dress like, their hairstyles, their face, and what's going on with the face, and how they're thinking. What are they focusing on? What is their education about? Okay, who are they idolising? What are they really looking for? Because Hitler's going to be controlling how they date, what they say on dates. You know, are you a Jew? That sort of thing. You don't want to be with anyone like that. You're going to want to be with the pure Aryan race. That's the person you're going to want to marry. Okay, so more interesting bits here. In order to successfully do what Hitler wants in terms of producing children, You are going to need some incentives maybe to produce so many children. So there are some medals for you. Bronze, silver and gold. You can see them there at the bottom. Those are images of the actual medals you could get. So you've got the wedding in the corner. Yeah, so the two corners, you've got the wedding. And then if you wanted a divorce, you can, as I've already said. And then, yeah, you get a bronze medal for producing 4 children, silver for 6, and gold for 8. So make sure you definitely jot it down for key learning, the 3 Ks, and then these medals. Bronze, silver, gold, 4, 6, 8. It's easy if you repeat that to yourself. Bronze, silver, gold, 4, 6, 8. Now, Hitler's mother. Top corner, Hitler's mother. She was someone he absolutely idolised, adored. He kept her picture in his jacket pocket right until the end. And he changed Mother's Day and made it her birthday, the 12th of August. That's Motherhood Medal Day, where you would actually get these medals. So it was encouraged that every single woman would produce 4 children, because when you get married, you get 2 things. 1, a copy of Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, lucky you. And number 2 is 1,000 Reichmarks, which if you have 1 child, you can keep 250 Reichmarks. If you have another one, you can keep 500, and then you go up from there. Okay, so you're encouraged to produce 4 children. Many people produce a lot more than that, and they became celebrity couples. So this is all about the law for encouragement of marriage. And encouraging people to really have as many children as possible. The marriage thing is just sort of a bit of polish on it, but it's really about these medals. If your husband doesn't want to have a child, or you can divorce him, marry someone else, or don't marry him, just produce these children. Okay, but if you do get married, you've got a bit of financial incentive as well. So make sure you've jotted all that down. Okay, let's move on. So what if you can't have a child? What if you are that couple that just can't produce a child? Well, don't worry, Hitler's got a plan for you. So he's got the Lebensborn program. It's put into 2 parts. One, Hitler and the Einsatzgruppe are busy kidnapping children from other countries and bringing them to you. But as long as those children are pure Aryan, or at least Aryan looking, as you can see by the picture at the top, at least they're Aryan looking. And unfortunately, a lot of people these days are looking at their birth certificates and having the word Lebensborn, the Lebensborn program written on them. What's that? Because the second part of this program links to the image that I showed you at the beginning with the SS flag. If you could produce children, if you're a single woman, you could go to an SS house and produce a baby. You'd sleep with an SS man, and you then donate the baby to Hitler. You could either keep the baby, or you can donate it to a motherless, a childless couple who would then keep that baby. And then you'd continue to go on producing children with the SS, and then giving those children to babyless couples. So you can see the children there in one of the houses, and they would have X-ray machines put on them and machinery put on them to whiten their skin if need be. It's absolutely horrible. And between 8,000 and 11,000 babies were actually born through the Lebensborn program. So you can always have a child. It's just through different means, shall we say. So make sure you jot down about the Lebensborn program. It's a good thing to throw in the exam, because it shows that you really understand what happens to normal couples who can have children with adult, and you know the couples actually can't have children, and how Hitler's working out that little tweak for them in his policy. Okay, so again, you might want to pause the video with this bit. Just leave my screen. There we go. So we've got some women who are breaking the mold for women, like Irma Grease, and Eva Braun, for example. She, as you can see, wears makeup, she wears lipstick, things like that. When Hitler ended up marrying her, a lot of people didn't even know he was married or even had a girlfriend. So make sure you give about her a bit of a read. She's quite an interesting character. And then you've got Sophie Scholl, who really broke the mold. She joined the League of German Girls. It was the equivalent of the Hitler Youth, but for females. She didn't like it. She didn't like the way they were treating the Jews. And so she then broke the mold, joined university. Again, the idea of women going to university was not on. And she ended up rebelling. She was part of the White Rose group. Unfortunately, she was found out in the University of Munich for distributing anti-Nazi posters, and she was executed along with her brother and several others in the White Rose group. So make sure you pause the video and look at what's going on there with these two individuals and jot down how they changed the policies, adapted to the policies, or broke the policies. Okay, now you might want to spend some time looking at how the Nazi policies were and weren't successful, because obviously some women were shunned from the policy, some women enjoyed what was going on, this change, because they didn't like the freeing aspect of the Weimar period and preferred what was going on after. Apologies for that. However, you do have an increase in the birth rate, which is obviously what they're all after. So you had 970,000 babies in the Weimar period, and the birth rate actually went up to 1.4 million in 1939. So it's very clear then the policy did work. However, we need to be very careful with numbers, because is this a case of the women actually just wanted children? Or is it a case they actually did it for the medals and because they wanted to follow the Nazi policies and they wanted, you know, the army idea? It's unclear. So don't take it as all these babies were born because they all loved Hitler. It's not totally true. Okay. Hitler had a very hard time with encouraging women to not be in work. So some women actually, a lot of women actually, stayed in work. So that policy didn't totally work at all, because some women stayed in work. And when it came to World War II, he had to be persuaded by Albert Speer, S-P-E-E-R, to put more women in work. And Hitler found that very hard, because his entire policy was about getting women out of work and in the home and producing children. But in World War II, he had to do the opposite and put them back in the workforce. So again, that doesn't really work. So we've got an increase in the birth rate, but they're back in work. We've got the law for the prevention of diseased offspring. Now, unfortunately, that did work. He did get a lot of women sterilised, forcibly and voluntarily. So it's a mixed bag here in terms of success. It's very much an individual thing, as well as looking at it on a whole. So take some time now to read these sources and actually have a think about, does this source show you that the Nazi policies were successful towards women? So you've got this source first, so pause the video, and then in the next one, you've got another source as well to look at. Okay, so this is the second one. So have a look at source C and just read this advertisement and see whether or not you actually think this individual clearly is with the Nazi policies towards women. Give it a pause. Okay, and here's some more sources for you. So you can have a look and see, actually, are these sources saying that Nazi policies towards women were successful? Were women affected positively, negatively by the Nazi policies towards women? So pause the video, give each one a read, and pick two sources and answer the following question. How do these two sources differ in their understanding of how women were affected by the Nazis? So there you go, guys. Hopefully you understand now exactly what the Nazis wanted from women, and you've taken away the key bits there. You've got the Ks, the 3 Ks, you've got the medals, you've got the Lebensborn program, and all the policies in terms of what women should dress like, their hair, their makeup, and how different it was from the Weimar period, that contrast from Weimar to the Nazis. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye.